Welcome to smallchurchadmin.com. If you are working at a small church with big ideas, you've come to the right place. And if you're working in a big church with big ideas, or if you are volunteering at a church that has ideas, then you're also in the right place. So, one of the biggest issues I've noticed among church administrators is communicating, being able to communicate with staff, volunteers, and members of the congregation. And this always seems to be a challenge. Not everybody communicates in the same way. Some people prefer to communicate by phone, some prefer by text, and they don't read anything else. Some prefer by email, and they won't read their texts. Some prefer iMessage, and they won't read their emails. Or some prefer by Facebook Messenger or another social media through the DMs. And there's any number of other ways that people prefer to communicate. And usually what happens is they'll stick with that one form of communication and not really veer from it. So you could send a texting person a million emails, they won't read one of them. But if you send one text, they'll immediately respond. And figuring out who responds to which forms of communication can be a huge challenge. And if you're in working in a small church, I'm sure you understand. Even bigger churches have the same issue. I mean, how many weeks can you have something in the bulletin and somebody is always going to say, oh, I didn't know that was going to happen, when it's been in the bulletin for 6 weeks already. And the struggle is real. The struggle is real. So, and then to complicate matters even more so, some never use a computer and others don't have a smartphone. So you could be publishing an app, for your church or whatever, or another communication app. And if people don't have a smartphone, that app isn't going to do them any good. So I've recently come across an app that addresses all of those problems, and it actually allows users to connect in the way that works best for them. So the only thing that it doesn't do is making phone calls for you. So you'll still have to do that separately if there's people who will only pick up the phone when somebody's calling them in person. But this addresses all of those other issues. So it's called band.us. So if you just Google that, band.us, it's a platform that's designed for groups, and it's mostly marketed towards sports teams and like musical and performance teams. So like high school orchestras, cheer teams, football, soccer, that kind of thing. The great thing is that the features that they have fit perfectly with the ministry needs of a small church. And here's the cool thing. So it's not just an app. It is an app for iOS and for Android. So you can get it in the App Store. You can get it on Google Play Store. But it can also be used through a browser on your laptop or computer. Okay, so not only that, but it also allows people to subscribe to your posts by email or by text or both. So this covers the gamut of how people prefer to communicate. So they can do it in an app on their phone, they can do it on their computer, they can do it by email, they can do it by text. And so that is amazing. Like, this is something that I haven't seen in any platform before. And not only that, but it's completely free with no ads, which, I mean, really, what more can you possibly want? It works really well. So visually, you can take a look at it online, but just to describe it to you, it looks a lot like a Facebook group. So there's group posts, you have your news feed. For your group posts, you can include things like polls or surveys or live streaming. You can add photos, all of that fun stuff. Each group, or what they call a band, also has an events calendar. So you can add events that your entire group can see. You can add events that you invite only specific people in your group to. You can require RSVPs, that sort of thing. Each group or band also has albums. So you can create albums for different ministries or different events, just like a Facebook group. And then in addition to that, there are private and public chat rooms. So this would be analogous to Facebook Messenger, but it's built right into Band. And so you have your news feed, but then in a separate window, you can have your chat sessions going on. So you can be chatting one-to-one with somebody. You can have a chat that's open to all of the members of the group. And then conversely, your group members can be chatting privately with, one or more other members of the group in their own private chat. So it's really great because it keeps everything contained in one. So your band or your group can be completely invitation only and unsearchable. So your congregation would have to have a specific link, or you can have it listed publicly so that they can just Google it and find it. So it just depends on what you want for your congregation. So there are also settings to allow for younger users, and they have a way to allow a parent to log in and supervise their child's activity in the app. So if you're like us and you have helpers for your ministries. For example, we have helpers that are between the ages of 12 and 15 in our nursery. And so, of course, we want to make sure that we're completely above reproach in our communications with them. And this is a great way to allow parents to be able to be part of those communications. They can see what they're doing within the app and see what their communications are going on. And that's a really cool accountability piece, which makes it perfect for ministry. So Band is perfect for messaging people with their preferred method all at once. So every time you post something in the news feed, you're given the opportunity to send an alert. That's what they call it, send an alert. So this is how you send that post, that update, to those who have subscribed to receive either texts or emails or both. So this is how your people who will only receive texts, this is how they're going to receive the updates and the posts. So it does take that extra step. You have to, click to send an alert. And then what you do is you do it from your phone. It copies that post. And as far as I know, there's no character limit. It copies that post to your messaging app on your phone. And then you just click send, which is really cool. So it is like a couple of extra clicks, but it's not that big of a deal. It's so much easier than copying and pasting to, 20 different people who only receive texts. Same with the emails. Emails can be sent when you're on desktop, and the texts are sent when you're using the app on your phone. And it's a huge advantage. This is a huge pro, in my opinion, to be able to do that. So here are some other useful features for churches. So it has the events. So Band allows you to add events, which could be single or recurring, to your group calendar. So you can upload files to your events, you can invite specific people, and you can require RSVPs. So if you aren't already using something like Planning Center or Church Track to do your worship scheduling, you could actually do it within this app. And that is huge. That's huge. Now, I would definitely recommend doing something specific to worship scheduling, like a Church Track, if you are scheduling different songs and adding links and PDF song arrangements and things like that for your worship team. Those two platforms, Church Track and Planning Center, are specifically designed for that. They connect with Song Select and all of that to cover your copyright and your usage and all of that stuff. So if you're heavy on the worship scheduling side, definitely get something that is specifically designed for that. However, if it's just a matter of adding things like the verse to read that day, or who's doing communion, that kind of thing, then this would actually be a really great solution. You could also use it for things like curriculum for your children's ministries, or maybe it's the order of service for your youth ministry. So another feature that they have is polls. And so how many times do we send out an email asking people for the best day for a meeting, and you get 20 threaded replies with different dates, and then you have to sort back through those replies and figure out the best date. Well, Band allows you to do just a poll. and you can just allow people to vote on the dates that work best for them, and majority rules or whatever whatever way you end up choosing. But it's a much easier way to see exactly who's available and when. So you could also use that for things like choosing an event theme, or choosing program curriculum, or maybe a Bible study book, or the best location for an event gathering, or whatever. There's so many options. So, and then I've already spoken about private and public chat rooms. So your posts are like what I would compare to, your paper bulletin, where you want to announce things. And yes, people can comment, and people can, add their own details or whatever they'd like to do, or post reactions, smiley face or whatever. But if you want to have more of a discussion, that's where you'd use the chat rooms. Like I said, it's a lot like Facebook Messenger, and so that's for more conversation, more back and forth. So using that, I mean, that's a game changer. It's such a huge benefit. So shared albums. Here's another great feature of Band. So here's a scenario. Have you ever had an event, and then you've had people sending you photos that they took at the event? They send them by email, they send them by Facebook Messenger, they text them to you, they give them a USB stick with the photos, and it's all for the same event. And so I don't know if you've had that happen to you, but I know I have. And here is one central location, so you could easily create an album, allow everybody to upload to it, and just have everybody upload their photos to your shared album. And then you've got all your photos in one place. You can use them for whatever you need, and everybody else can see them too, which is really great. Added bonus, I just suggested that you allow everybody to see them, which is great. You can actually change the settings on whether or not people can download those photos. So that's really cool for privacy. If you have a congregation that's concerned about that, you can switch off the downloading so that only you have access to actually download those photos to your computer or device. So the number one reason why I think Band.us is such a great communication platform for small churches is because it is free. And I mentioned that before, I believe, but when we're trying to make the most of our resources, we're trying to stretch our dollar as far as it will go, or we're trying to do things on $0. This is a free app. It's absolutely free. It does not show ads. It will have pop-ups for its own features every once in a while. You can actually even turn those off. So it's such a comprehensive, all-encompassing platform and app. It's really amazing that it is actually for free. So I'd love to hear what your favorite ways of communicating with your congregation and your staff and your volunteers are. Have you found a one-size-fits-all solution? I think this one is pretty close, if not all-encompassing. And I'd love to hear if there's something better out there. I know a lot of people use Slack. That's great. I've found that it's not as user-friendly for people who maybe are less tech savvy. So that's why I've kind of been really interested in learning more about Band.us, because it seems to be more user-friendly for those kinds of people. So it's more accessible for everyone. So anyway, I'd love to hear what your church and your ministry uses for communication. Share your ideas. Send me a voice message. Post a comment on the blog, or email me. And have a great day. Go and be encouraged that God is using you in your role to further the Great Commission, to share the gospel and make disciples. And be blessed in what you do.